were joined again by us as well. And yeah, we probably not as happy as we thought we'd be after a disappointing World Cup from Bangladesh. I think our pre-tournament hopes were quite different to what actually happened. So we're here to break that down piece by piece, see what went wrong, how they could fix it, and what's in the future for Bangladesh.
I think, just like starting off the whole campaign with losing to Scotland, I think that had a cascading effect throughout the whole tournament, because that sort of meant that they ended up in a group that they probably didn't want to be in. And then they had a lot of tough games. Like, I think it's just so important to have a good start to the tournament. If you lose a game like that to Scotland, where you probably really should have beaten them, I think it really did. It was probably a contributing factor to sucking the confidence out of some of the players, because they were like, we have this belief that we should win against them, and then we lost, and then we go into the group stage where we're 3-0 like every game, because they're just there's a very negative mindset. Like, our openers aren't really taking on the bowling, they're just blocking it out, playing like it's an ODI, and you didn't get that chance to catch up like you do in ODI. It's a different form of cricket where you have that middle phase of play, like between 20 to 40 overs, but you can really make up if you are behind. But in 2020 cricket, it's not like that. You have probably 2 overs to make up. That's it. If you don't make up in that time, it's a downhill process. You have to keep playing positive cricket. But
100%.
More often than not, we're 3-4 down for 30, and you're not going to win any games like that. Doesn't matter who you have been. Like whoever's coming in.
And it's so easy for you and me to understand this, but it's hard for me to understand or a process that they don't know this. Obviously they know this, but there is something that's holding them back, with the game against England, the way Litton tried to play fearless cricket. He was smacking the ball from ball 1 and not choosing the right balls to smack, not choosing the right ball to find the gaps. So I think that also has to change. Someone might have advised Litton to go and play fearless cricket. It doesn't mean you just go all guns blazing and play all the shots in your book. So I think shot selection was also a big issue this World Cup. I think our bowlers did well relatively.
The risk taking wasn't a had an impact, because the risk that they took were very high risk with not much reward, and they probably could have taken lower risk with still a decent amount of reward.
And I'll tell you another funny story.
There's fearless cricket and there's stupid cricket.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another funny story. In Bangladesh, when they play 2020 cricket, the sponsors want more boundaries and more sixes, so they actually shorten the the boundaries, so that the players can hit sixes. So once you get into that mentality that I need to only hit this much to clear the rope and just clear the ropes, you'll always get caught, like Holder caught Litton Das in that crucial game against the West Indies. So these things have to change. And I again repeat that people are blaming the Mirpur deck, but it's not like you had any other option. Australia didn't want to play anywhere except for Mirpur. New Zealand didn't want to play anywhere except for Mirpur. Mirpur held about 1,000 games in the span of 5 months leading up to those series. So if you don't give your cricket wickets rest, everyone knows that you can't prepare a flat wicket. We are criticizing everything and anything these days, but we also need to understand the challenges that the boards have to face. But yes, when people say we have to prepare proper cricket wickets, go back to the domestic circuit, go to the people in game development and tell them what you need, so that they can prepare players and wickets, and also strengthen your team to ensure that they perform in the world stage. If you look at India, maybe more than a decade ago, or maybe 2 decades ago, they got the MRF Pace Foundation, and they had probably Glenn McGraw leading. I think so, if I'm not wrong. I think Glenn McGraw was overseeing the MRF Bowling Foundation,
Yeah.
and look what India has today. And this is a preparation that took probably 15 years for India, to make sure that they have a whole pipeline of pace bowlers who comes to Australia, who comes to New Zealand, still wins test matches, still make sure that they give the opponent the run for their money. So if Bangladesh are to improve in world cricket, forget 22 World Cup, forget 23 World Cup, you start everything from today, that this is what we're going to do. We're going to choose the right people in the right places to ensure we don't struggle what we did today. We don't struggle once these 4 experienced players leave, because the void that Shakib, Mahmudullah, Mushfiq, and Tamim Iqbal will leave in this team, you'd have more 50-run all out for nothing. So I think it's high time we need to pick up our game. And if people there in the board are basically sitting on their rocking chairs for the last 2 decades, they really need to own up to their mistakes and also come out with solutions to these issues.
Yeah, and I think the development for the next 2 or 3 years is going to be really critical, because as we know, like, those guys are going to be reaching the end very soon. Shaq's 34, Mushfiq got similar sort of ages. I think Time is a little bit older from memory. So, you're looking at what, maybe 2-3 years if you really squeeze them out. Like, you really have to come up with
Unless you're Chris Gale.
Like, you really have to invest in there's only one Chris Gale. But, you're really gonna have to squeeze out and develop your players for the next, and try and find some emerging talent. Otherwise, you're going to be left with nothing. And we will be getting bought out for 50 if that's the case.
If you ask me,
which will be disappointing.
If you ask me honestly, what should Bangladesh cricket concentrate on now? I would say Test cricket and ODI cricket. Let's forget T20. I know that the T20 loss has shaken up the leadership, has shaken up team management, has shaken up from top to down. But I think these changes should come for bigger things. You can target that, okay, so this year in this cycle, I'm going to win 3 test matches or 4 test matches. I don't have to be a world test champion. What do I have to do for that? You start immediately. You start, restructuring all your processes. If you want to do something good in the 23 World Cup, you need to have that mindset to win a World Cup. You can never go into the World Cup thinking, oh, I'll just win 2 games. Just in the 2019 World Cup, they went in thinking, let's see. They just went in thinking, let's see, we'll try and win games and see where we stand. No, you go into the field thinking, I'm here to win, I'm here to own it. And I don't think not many people in that dugout believes that they can do it. But that 2019 World Cup team, 2019 was the under-19 World Cup, I think, or 2020, I forgot. That under-19 World Cup side, they believe that they can do. And you'd see that these players are a different bunch. And if the BCB, can't get them ready for the big stage now, then you have all these bunch of players again, becoming a lost cause. It's also a no-brainer to discuss why Litton and why Shommo, because now they're gone. They're out of the picture. So there's not even any point discussing about them, what promises they had, but what my question is, why have we struggled to produce an opener such as Tamim in as many years? No one can answer me this question. People are only blaming Litton and it's like, oh, bring Anamul or bring Imrul Kais. He would have done better. Same people would have, if you track back 5 years ago, same people were bad-mouthing them for their bad performances. So, it's time to look beyond these people and time to make sure that we have a strong bunch of people, a strong bunch of pipeline who could, interchange people. When Virendra Sehwag was ousted from the Indian team for his fielding, not for his batting, people, there were eyebrows raised, but who replaced him? Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma worked his way up to the opening. Dhawan replaced him, and then Dhawan scored a century in a test match. So that's the pipeline that India has. And, it's a shame that, we are even not half the strength as India. We don't have half the money as India. But we tend to boast that we have a lot of money in the bank. We are the third or fourth richest board in the world. What are we going to do with this money? We pay the wrong people. We are paying 15,000 USD to a coach who's creating problems. There's Otis Gibson. I thought he's done good work with the pace bowlers, and I think he's done good work. But rumor has it that he's creating issues within players inside the dressing room. So, I mean, you really need to vet the people that you get into your dressing room. It's just letting people into your home. You'd obviously want to vet those people who you're letting into your home. So get people who are actually willing to work for Bangladesh cricket. Just don't get people for the face of it. And in international cricket, if one has to perform, it's a major shift from domestic level to international cricket, because Bangladeshi domestic level is extremely poor. Back in the days, there were the Wasim Akrams. There was big players from Sri Lanka, Sanat Jaiswal and everyone playing in the local leagues in Bangladesh, but we hardly see that anymore. So, I mean, so the competition has obviously decreased from there, and it's because the low and slow wickets. So I think the thought process needs to start, and also the working needs to start from the roots rather than what you see on your eyes and we're like, oh yeah, blame the New Zealand series, blame the Australia series. But you like it or not, the New Zealand and Australia series is why Bangladesh have qualified for the Super Tournament. Yeah, I mean, it's not a good time for cricket, and people would say, oh, they don't deserve it. Yes, we don't deserve it, but cricket's funny. And as much as you think yourself we don't deserve it, but I'm still happy that Bangladesh have qualified, because come next year, if you lose to another associate nation in the beginning of the tournament, and you're gone again. And so, I mean, psychologically, I think Bangladesh players, they number one, they need a break. Number one. Number two,
it's one less thing to worry about for sure.
Yeah, and then number two, they need immediate psychological treatment, in the sense just to make themselves believe that they can do. If everyone who's gonna watch this show down the line, they would remember the Champions Trophy innings of Mahmudullah and Shakib. We were 30, we were 4 down for 30 runs, and from there we chased 250 plus, I think, if I remember correctly. And what a brilliant chase that was. So if you see, and I tend to do this often, like I go back into all the old archives and watch the games on what they did differently then, and there were lapses there as well, but you had a blanket to cover all your lapses. But this time PCB couldn't cover anything. Even in the 2019 World Cup, people came back home, they made some stern decisions. They obviously wanted Mashrafi to move out, which I thought Mashrafi should have moved out himself. But there was an episode with Mashrafi, and then Steve Rhodes being sacked. Why? Because of a failed World Cup campaign. But it wasn't as bad as this. You could have given Steve Rhodes a bit more chance, because that guy won you an overseas series with Ireland and New Zealand, New Zealand's full team at that point. So, I mean, those are decisions that they're still making, and I think the decisions they're making today are right. They have decided to change the selection committee, the selectors, which is a good decision. And then they have obviously revamping their coaching panels. They have appointed someone, Khaled Mahmood Shujon, who's, I must say, have worked, really closely with Bangladesh cricket for many years. And I think he is in a good position to obviously use his knowledge and experience to make sure that we get what we need, what the combinations we need in a national team to perform. So I think the right people are given the position, but the other thing is, in Bangladesh, you also need to be given the privilege and the liberty to work. And I think that is missing, that element is missing. And I think if the BCB can give that liberty and privilege to the people who they've appointed to work freely, I think we'll see better days in the coming years.
I think a huge important thing is that teams need to have long-term goals. Like, exactly, I keep going back to the England team because they're like the prime example of that. Like 2015, they obviously lost to Bangladesh. They actually lost to Bangladesh, and then from there, look where they went to 2019. Even 2016 World Cup, how tragic that was. Even Ben Stokes is a single player. Look where he went from 2016 to 2019. Yeah. Look where the team went from 2016 to 2019. And they revamped everything, but they had a long-term goal in mind. Like 2019 World Cup, we're going to win that. and they beat Australia along the way 5-0. England team's never done that before. They smashed with a bunch of other teams. And then they got, I mean, obviously the final, some people say they didn't deserve it, but they were the best.
But they won it. Yeah. Yeah.
They were 100% the best team.
I think it's a very interesting point, Naba, because England rebranded their cricket. It's almost like an organization going through a restructure. They rebrand the whole thing. Now England goes in with a mindset, we're going to play 50 overs, we're going to score 500 runs, something like that. We're going to score 500 runs, or we just go, all in, or we just go down fighting. They could get out for within 25 overs, or they can go score 400 runs or something like that. So if
and they pick the players accordingly to be able to do that. Yeah,
correct. And they have the structure to do that. There are many people in England who have probably retired thinking I'll get a call. They have retired thinking I'll get a call to the national side. And you like it or not, and you'll be enlightened to the fact that there are many players in Bangladesh who have also done, whose fate was decided by someone in the board or someone somewhere where the talent wasn't picked because for whatever reason, they didn't have a strong lobby. And these things need to be discussed because not everyone knows this. Some spectators, the ones who went to Dubai just to have a good game, want to watch Bangladesh team win, those people may not know everything, but end of the day, our goals is the same. We want our teams to win. And it's time that Bangladesh team management, Bangladesh cricket structure actually thinks about these people who actually goes into the stadium, who, you, me, when we go into offices, we have to face these critical discussions. Oh, what happened to your team? You beat us in Mirpur, but how come you couldn't perform well in Dubai? We have to face these questions. We've been copying it. We've been copying it for the last 20 years, where we've had we have our picks. We had our picks and troughs. 2015 was a good year. We beat everyone in our own backyard, and that's important. You need to start winning. You need to start how to win in your own backyard. And if you think that those two series in T20, winning those two series is a start, you can use that as a starting point, because I don't think before those two series people thought Bangladesh would even qualify for the Super 12s. So it was renewed hope that maybe we have something. We have a new captain, we have a few bunch of players. Now mind you, Australia batted in the same wicket. Australia couldn't perform, but Bangladesh batted in the same wicket and performed. You still had to play to win those games. So you have to give credit where it's due. They still played, they still won those games, and they won with the same conditions. So, I mean, criticism is of course important, but the right criticism is important as well. And I think we have failed to do that as a nation. And I think we don't raise the right questions. We never discuss more meaningful issues. We only think about what we see. We're seeing Litton and Shomo failing. We're only targeting Litton and Shomo. We never ask why couldn't we bring in 5 other players who could replace Litton and Shomo within a tournament. We did not ask why Naeem Sheikh didn't play the first game. We never asked. We should have asked that question from day one. Why didn't he play when he has been playing for you for the last 12 months? So these are questions that cannot go unanswered. Someone has to take ownership of these things. So that's important for Bangladesh cricket now. And rebranding is the major thing. And England or India, because India after 2007 World Cup, they won the 2011 World Cup in 4 years. So you can even use them as an example. So I think it's a good point, Naba, and I think Bangladesh can take lessons from these two teams.
It's the calm before